introduce the PROSNOW project and service, because as you can see, PROSNOW was a concept, was an idea, and it turned into a service by the end of the project. So if I go back once again to the latest IPCC report on ocean crust here, and if I look at the glossary of that report, we can hear about early warning systems. So usually you talk about early warning systems when it comes to disaster management in terms of locust or in terms of heat waves and these kind of things. But actually, early warning is broader than that. It's actually defined as a set of technical and institutional capacity to forecast, predict, and communicate timely and meaningful warning information to enable individual communities, etc., threatened by a hazard to prepare to act promptly and appropriately to reduce the possibility of harm or loss. And by early warning, there is the information, there is the idea that we're talking about real-time information to adapt with a time span of a few hours to a few days to a few weeks to a few months or a month at most. So in that sense, PROSNOW belongs to this early warning system category. So in terms of snow management issues, we discussed already at quite some depth what we're talking about. And one of the two main issues that ski resorts face in terms of snow management is that maybe sometimes there is no snow at the beginning of the season because the production by snowmaking occurred too early, and because of a warm spell or because of a bad timing, all the snow is gone before the snow season opens, and in some cases there is no water left, so all the water was used. Or conversely, there can be too much snow at the end of the season, which also reflects some kind of bad objective and bad planning, and it usually doesn't look very nice when you have snow left on the slopes after the end of the ski season. And this actually can cause some disruptions locally that require some further work. So in that sense, it's actually not optimal at all. So snow management comes with a cost in terms of economic cost, because of course it requires some manpower, it requires some investments to run those grooming machines and to run those snowmaking units. It of course bears some environmental costs in terms of water energy. And it has a cost, as I just said, for ski tourism image, and it's a bad timing and bad snowmaking practices are actually seen as a breach of the environmental responsibility of ski resorts. So within PROSNOW, we worked with European ski resorts, and this is one of the results from this project that shows that within the total operating cost of a ski resort, snow management accounts for about 20% of the cost. So it's not negligible at all. And within those 20% costs, grooming accounts for about half of the cost, and items related to snowmaking about 43%, so almost half of the cost also for snowmaking. So snowmaking and snow grooming are actually quite significant costs that are incurred to ski resorts and ultimately to the clients. And of course, those issues of early warning, early winter warm spells or issues with the production through the winter, they are likely to raise the current and future climate change. The situation will not magically improve in that respect. So the anticipation is one way to avoid those kind of situations, and that's where the early warning component comes in. Because what would be desirable to know is when it is actually not a good choice to produce. So in a situation where the situation is actually favorable for snow production, but in fact snow production should not take place because it will even be wasted if it's too early and it might melt, or it will be wasted at the end of the season because it's actually not necessary to operate until the end of the season. And so if you look at what exists today in terms of snow management, in terms of the operations of snow management in ski resorts, there are a number of stakeholders, a number of service providers that provide information about the current snow height in ski slopes. And what PROSNOW is all about is actually predict the future state of the snow cover based on a system I will introduce in a minute. And based on those prediction of future state of the snow cover, you can actually make better decisions about where to produce or what to not produce and how to better adapt the workflow. So PROSNOW has been a European Horizon 2020 European project funded by the EU from 2017 to 2020. So the project is actually now completed since August 2020, and it brought together scientific institutions, private companies, and service providers, and ski resorts operating in the field of snow management and in the field of snow science in the broader sense. And of course, all those partners operate within or across European countries, especially along the Alps. We actually worked also with a number of pilot ski resorts. We had nine pilot ski resorts across France, Switzerland, Italy, Austria, and Germany that actually helped us, as you can see in a minute, to actually shape what the PROSNOW service could be about and how to optimally implement the ideas and the concept at the core of PROSNOW. So in the project, we actually had an effective transdisciplinarity and co-design across academic, industrial, and operational organizations operating in the field of pure and applied snow science, if you agree with that term. So here you have images of a number of meetings within the consortium and also across with local working groups that involved the pilot ski resorts, and also disseminating PROSNOW results to trainees to train the next generation of snow managers to know about the knowledge and tools that have been developed within PROSNOW to better manage snow as a key resource for ski resorts. So that's really what PROSNOW is about, to optimize in real time snow as a delicate and as a limited resource for ski tourism. So the concept of PROSNOW is to acknowledge that the predictability of the snow conditions, they depend on the weather predictability, which is usually on the range of 1 to 2 weeks at most in Western Europe. And for this, you of course need to downscale weather forecasts. It also depends on the current state of the snow cover, because if you start in the 1st of December with 1 meter of snow, that gives you some perspective on where you can expect to be 1, 2, 3 weeks after that. And of course, there can be a range of variations for the future, but it's not random. And the starting point for your prediction is actually a good information for your prediction. And of course, it actually depends on snow management practices. So if you know that you cannot implement snowmaking, then of course you have some bounds on what to expect a few weeks afterwards. So if you combine local measurements with weather and seasonal prediction products with snow cover modeling that incorporate and integrate all this information, and you can also use remotely sensed data to evaluate and to provide context for your simulations, you can actually predict a few days to weeks in advance what will be the state of the snow cover depending on the snow management activities and actions that you will implement. And so that's what PROSNOW is doing. It's actually combining within a central data server in situ observations of weather conditions, but also snow depth observations from ski resorts and also water use from snowmaking units. These data are incorporated in the system and provided together with downscaled weather predictions spanning a few days to actually the use of seasonal prediction, a few months lead time. And this is combined with snowpack and snow cover modeling that predict not only the future state of the weather conditions, but also convert all this information into snow cover information. So basically, the core principle and the core product that PROSNOW is dealing with is actually the snow itself lying on the slopes. And then, of course, based on these predictions, which are made in an ensemble framework, because we have to account for a number of sources of uncertainty, and this is done by those processed indicators computation, these data are pushed through the PROSNOW demonstrator, the PROSNOW user-facing tool that you will see in a minute, or can be pushed into existing tools or services because there are already a number of software which are used in this industry. So this is what the user-facing tool looks like. So it's basically relying on maps for each ski resort, and for each of those maps, and Carlo Carmagnola will provide a guide, a tour of the demonstrator in a minute. So I will not go into much details, but just to let you know that in PROSNOW we take care of a ski resort with quite a level of detail compared to what we can do in climate projections, of course. And in that sense, we provide within piste variations of the weather conditions and the snow conditions, and of course information from in situ snow height measurements is actually key in delivering this information. And then, of course, we have. I'm being told that the slides are not changing. Is it the same for everyone that you cannot see the slides?
This is a user-facing tool slide.
Okay. All right. So now I'm presenting the user-facing tool of PROSNOW. So now you can see the slides. Okay. And for each each fraction of a piste, we actually have information for past and future within a few days or a few weeks for wet bulb temperature, which is the critical weather information for snowmaking, but also wind speed, snow depth, and water consumption. And those snow depth and water consumption, they actually are produced by the snow cover models. So they convert the weather conditions from the weather forecast models and the seasonal forecast models into snow cover. So they used the information at the daily to set daily information to compute the state of the snow cover based on those simulations. And of course, as you can see later on using Carlos' tour, this can of course be varied depending on the snow management configuration that is used, and that can be used to inform choices in terms of snow management. So if you want to try it by yourself, you can actually look on the line on the showcase website. We'll provide the link later on the chat box, so you can play yourself with the tool, and Carlo will give a tour of this later on. So now I will talk a little bit about the exploitation of PROSNOW, because this has been the outcome of a 3 years project, and now we are going to the market. So within the consortium, some members partner up in different exploitation entities, and they develop their own go-to-market strategy. And at that stage, there are different exploitation entities which are preparing the commercial service. So some are preparing for the next winter, that is 21-22. And there is one exploitation entity that brings together the Météo France and CGX, so 3 partners from France, to actually exploit the PROSNOW system starting the coming winter, 2020-2021, in the French Alps and Pyrenees. So the main results and main outcomes of PROSNOW is the concept and workflow that I just introduced. Within PROSNOW, we also develop an API, so an advanced programming interface, to basically exchange data between the different data suppliers, be it weather forecast, but also snow cover information, observed snow depth, and observed water consumption. So quite specific data flows that have been standardized and that can be used within the industry to enhance the sharing of data within these different service providers of this industry. The central data server has been developed, and we could demonstrate that it was actually possible to transport it to a different partner to exploit the PROSNOW system in a different computing environment than where it was developed. Same for the user-facing tool, which can work on a variety of platforms and has been demonstrated to be able to work in different environments. And of course, there have been some additions, some new results, and some knowledge, some advances in knowledge and tools, especially in the field of snow cover modeling. So the 3 snow cover models used in that project, Amundsen, Crocus, and Snowpack, they all benefited from additional developments through PROSNOW, and they actually were improved through that project to some extent. That's the feedback that we received from 9 pilot ski resorts based on 1 year of operations, because for the winter season 2019-2020, until the closure of ski resorts due to the COVID outbreak, the ski resorts were able to test and to use this system in real time. So of course it was a testing year, so not everything worked perfectly, but it worked in a way that we could learn something about how useful PROSNOW was for the use. And as you can see, the light blue says that it corresponds to experience usefulness, and the dark blue is to imagine usefulness. And you can see that for a variety of activities, such as snowmaking decisions for upcoming hours or upcoming 4 days, or for snowmaking decisions for the season, or to avoid the overproduction of snow. Think of the use case I mentioned earlier, or to help optimizing energy use. There is either an experienced or an anticipated usefulness of that system, and this is only based on 1 year of testing. And so we can be quite confident that in the long term, the system could be actually used concretely to meet those types of expectations. So in conclusion, the main achievements of that project have been to implement successfully a modeling system to anticipate snow conditions in ski resorts, providing support for optimizing snow management. So that was really the mandate of that project, and we're pretty happy that this occurred. Those results were obtained through close interactions and bonding between academic, operational, and industrial partners. And this really is key, as Daniel mentioned that earlier today, and Guilain to some extent also. If we want to develop services to target a specific user group, it's not possible to do that in isolation from them. It has to be done in a transdisciplinary manner, accounting for the needs, accounting for and developing a dialogue to basically have multiple circles of interactions to clearly learn from the expectations, to also from the science community, provide offers of what can be done, and then discuss really in depth what can be achieved, which is both scientifically reasonable and also responds to the demands of the users, including the demands that are not existent in a way. Sometimes the people from operational communities, they don't even know what can be done. So it's actually part of the conversation to really devise tools and knowledge elements that really correspond to the challenges of this sector, even though sometimes it's not even imagined that it could be done. Through PROSNOW, we developed a concrete exploitation plan allowing for planned start of operations within a few months now for at least one exploitation entity, which already has taken some orders from a number of ski resorts in France. The project has also raised awareness about climate change impacts on ski tourism. So in a way, talking about PROSNOW, I mean, talking about end of the day, end of the season, or basically end of the month issues related to snow management, it's also a way to engage in a conversation with ski resorts manager and ski tourism stakeholders about longer term perspectives and impacts of climate change, which is actually quite successful to raise awareness rather than only focusing on mid-century or end-of-century timescales, because they are sometimes considered totally irrelevant for business operations. And I think it's a replicable example of a co-design approach involving the relevant stakeholders, as I said. And of course, out of this project, several scientific publications are published or underway. So with this, I will close this talk and give the floor to Carlo for a demonstration of the user-facing tool